Good evening and welcome to the DPW VITRAN St. Croix-St. Thomas Virtual Town Hall. My name is Keneela Callender and I am the Chief of Staff at the Department of Public Works, but I'll be acting as your moderator this evening. With me today, I have a panel of awesome DPW executives that'll help to explain this whole process to you. So we'll start with the Commissioner.
Good evening. My name is Derek Gabriel. I am your Commissioner for the Department of Public Works. Good evening.
Ms. McGregor?
Good evening. I'm Carol Overson McGregor, Deputy Commissioner of Transportation at the Department.
Good evening. My name is Jomo McLean and I'm the Highway Program Manager at the Department of Public Works.
Okay, so we have an agenda this evening. I'll kind of briefly run it down for you. We'll discuss the vision. We'll talk about the project overview. We'll also discuss the history of the ferry boat program, the economic and community benefits of this ferry, the route planning and operational feasibility. So we'll get into the nitty-gritty on the specs of the ferry, so you'll get to see that as well. The ferry design, and then we'll open it up for a question and answer segment. We'll have a call-in number, and we'll also be taking questions on our social media feeds. Right now we're running on WTJX's Facebook page and the DPW Facebook page. So we can get into the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation. Let's get started. We're starting with the vision slide. And we're going to have Commissioner Gabriel give us that overview once it pops up on the screen for us.
So thank you, Keneela. I think it's important to start with the original vision for this ferry actually came out of our 2010 transportation plan. Our transportation plan actually includes feedback from a number of stakeholders, including our community, our contractors, as well as our employees. And so this, in 2010, it came up as a part of our inter-island, inter-district connectivity. Of course, our vision is to create a seamless and sustainable inter-island public marine transportation system that connects communities, supports daily life and commerce, and enhances the overall experience for residents, students, commuters, tourists, and local businesses across the islands. You know, I always like to start, of course, with our students, our children, the youth of our community, because our ferries, all of them kind of act as school buses, right? In the St. Thomas, St. John district, we see how our ferries are very important in getting students across between the islands, and we hope as we build a school on St. John, that not only students from St. John will go to St. Thomas, but actually students from St. Thomas will go to St. John. And I think really for me, it was one of the most eye-opening factors in really expanding our ferry boat program. Understanding how many people really depend on the inter-island and inter-district transport for interscholastic, as well as just scholastic activities. So of course, our vision is really to connect the districts, not just, like I said, for the students, but also for inter-island commerce. I think there's a number of activities that happen. There's a number of vendors that really depend on doing business in the other district, whether it's St. Thomas or St. Croix. For us, the ferry gives us an opportunity to really bridge that gap and to reduce the cost of inter-district travel. Right now, we know that's a large thing that we've heard, particularly from the residents and the visitors that frequent the island of St. Croix. So that's our goal, that's our vision. And that is why we are embarking on this journey to fabricate the new St. Croix St. Thomas ferry.
Okay, thank you for that, Commissioner. Ms. McGregor, we're going to pass it on to you so you could give us a brief history, on the ferry boat program. So we're going to have them pull up that slide.
Just on a little background on the history of the ferry program. Back in 1976, the ferry program, ferry services, was ran by Varlach Ventures and Transportation Services of St. John. These families, the Varlach and the Boynes families, had been providing ferry service between islands for many years prior to that. However, in 1976, the government decided to provide a franchise for those families that have been providing the services for many years. Since then, the government got involved in obtaining our own ferries for this service. We were able to obtain federal funds through the ferry transportation program and get ferries for the route between St. Thomas and St. John. Since then, we've added an additional route for that service because of the demands and the volume of passengers using that service. Since 2010, with our comprehensive master transportation plan and our public involvement process, we found out that many residents on the island of St. Croix were interested in ferry service between St. Croix and St. Thomas. We were able to apply for many grants. We were unsuccessful, and we had the opportunity in 2024 to obtain Garvey bonds to fund the purchase of this vessel.
Okay, so we're also going to move on to the economic and community benefits of this ferry. I know Commissioner Gabriel touched on it somewhat in his introduction, but we have a few more benefits that we would like to discuss. Ms. McGregor, would you be able to share that as well?
Of course. This ferry service that we're going to have between St. Croix and St. Thomas will give the community lots of opportunities to travel between islands at an affordable cost. It'll also give the Department of Education and many schools the opportunity to transport a number of students in large groups without having to pay the exorbitant cost of air travel. The ferry service will provide opportunities for intramural sports, as well as academic competitions that students are able to participate in. It also gives families the opportunity to attend events such as weddings, unfortunately funerals, but it will give families the opportunity to travel together in large groups and to be able to afford transportation between islands. It will also give local businesses, farmers especially, the opportunity to provide goods and services to the communities in other districts. The ferry service is an opportunity for the entire territory.
So, Kinila, before we move on, I think one of the things I'd like to add to what Carol said, and she mentioned it, you know, any average family can now travel between the districts for the different community events that we have. You know, I think the most popular events that we have, particularly in the St. Croix district, is our AgriFest, our agricultural fair. And now, like Ms. McGregor touched on, families can not only travel and participate, but they can actually purchase produce and take it back, purchase plants and take it back, so it adds to the inter-island commerce. Yes. Additionally, no longer do we have to depend on the rental cars or even the government supplementing bus service, right? We can now travel with our buses because, as we'll get into later, the ferry that we are proposing actually provides the opportunity for us to bring vehicles as well as passengers. Yes. So I think it not only does it reduce the price of inter-district travel, but it also makes it more feasible, right? Now teams can travel, they can bring their equipment, they can go back and forth, and most importantly, they can do this in one day if it's necessary. Mm-hmm. So again, for us, this really gives us the opportunity to expand inter-district commerce, to really expand interscholastic travel and interscholastic sports, but also really to provide that inter-district connectivity that we need to see our economy grow.
Okay. Thank you for that, Commissioner. I really wanted to pull up that slide because we're going to move on to Jomo McLean now, the slide on route planning and operational feasibility, because we have a lot of good information on that. There's a lot of specs that we're going to ask Mr. McLean to share with us. If we can get that slide up, the route planning and operational feasibility. There we go.
Certainly, Camila. Thank you. So this route is a federal aid route, Route 753M is the official title of the route. And currently, the proposed the terminal locations for this designated federal aid route is Gallows Bay in Christiansted to downtown Charlotte Amalie. We're currently getting requesting a petition. We have a petition into Federal Highway to amend the route to include the Red Hook terminal, so it'll be going from Gallows Bay to Red Hook because of the proximity to the cruise bay and connectivity to St. John. As proposed right now, we're looking at a vessel that would carry approximately 198 passengers and up to 16 vehicles, small vehicles, no large trucks. We're looking at a catamaran hull style design that would be proposed by water jets. The vessel will be ADA compliant, and like the commissioner mentioned, it's mandated that we do the route in less than 90 minutes or less. The route is where the design for this particular vessel is being developed by one of the world's leading hull manufacturers who's doing the design. And so we're definitely looking forward to have this vessel fabricated or manufactured.
Jomo, I think one thing I would add, just as you mentioned it, right, is one of the reasons that we've been petitioning Federal Highway to amend the route to include Red Hook is because, like you said, the proximity to St. John. I don't think I realized until I was commissioner how many residents between St. John and St. Croix had not visited their counterparts.
Sister islands.
Right? Their sister islands. And I think for us, just being able to come from Gallows Bay into Red Hook, right, and then simply get off and get in line for a barge to go to St. John really provides the inter-island connectivity that we're looking for. More specifically, I mean, like we said, we also want to bridge that gap between St. John and St. Croix, because a lot of St. Johnians have never even, had the opportunity to be on St. Croix. But again, for us, it's really even offering those opportunities to our tourists, people that can get back and forth between the district in one day, which is really important for us.
Okay, so if we can move on to the other slide, because we have some really good renderings that we'd like to share with the community, just to show an example of what the ferry would look like. Yeah.
Right. So like I indicated, route is Route 753M, designated from Charlotte Amalie to Gallows Bay. We're trying to get that amended to go to Red Hook. So we'll go from Gallows Bay to Red Hook. This is a conceptual design of how the vessel would look. At the top is elevation view, profile of the vessel. The second image below that is upper deck or the pilot house. The third image is actually the passenger deck, and along with the vehicles, proposed vehicles. And of course, the last image is actually the hull design that shows the engines and the engine compartments.
That's interesting, Jomo, because this said it's 198 passengers, right?
You're correct.
That's a pretty big.
Right.
Do we have anything comparable to that here now?
No.
Nothing.
No, we don't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can move on now to the question and answer segment. I mean, do we have anything extra that we want to share before we open up?
Yeah, I think, Kenila, it's important to mention that the USVI has, and Ms. McGregor can tell you, the USVI has one of the oldest ferry boat programs actually in the United States. It is something that's been operating now it's something now that's been operating for quite a while. And not only is it important for us to point to the age of the program, but also how our fellow territories actually are looking to us for assistance with their ferry boat programs. We all know, I think it was in 2022, we were successful in acquiring federal grants for the latest St. Thomas St. John ferry, which is a Spirit of 1733, and that is also a catamaran hull with up to 300 passengers. And a lot of that was given to the data that we were able to collect from our ferry operators. So I do want to thank them for their partnership in the ferry boat program. I also want to recognize the QE4, the operators of the QE4, which have really been running the route between St. Croix and St. Thomas with very little subsidy. We've actually been in contact with them and trying to figure out how they can be a part of the process, because they have actually been the ones to provide a lot of the passenger and ridership data between the districts that allowed us to be even competitive for some of the grants.
Is it 7?
And Ms. McGregor touched on it. You know, we have unsuccessfully, unfortunately, applied for federal grants for the ferry. I think we've applied twice for RAISE grants unsuccessfully, but I'm really excited that we were able to include this ferry in the Garvey issuance package, because we know this is something that is very important, not only to the entire territory, but to the growth of our economy.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Gabriel. So we're going to open up the phone lines now. The telephone number is 340-718-3339. So if you have any questions for us here on the panel, please give us a call. We're also taking calls on our social media pages. That's the WTJX Facebook page, and I'm sorry, I said taking calls, taking questions on our Facebook pages, the WTJX Facebook page and the DPW Facebook page. So I have a question. This
Sure.
came in prior to, why are we doing this? We just heard all about the benefits, but why did we decide to spend government money to purchase
Right.
this ferry?
So before I ask Ms. McGregor to go into some details, I'll just say, I think for us, one of the things that we've really worked very hard on is, like we said, inter-island and inter-district connectivity, but also in advancing our multimodal transportation system, right? And for us to really be able to achieve that, we have to provide connectivity between the districts and connectivity between all ports. One of the things that and I will say is Deputy Commissioner McGregor's vision is if you can get from one port to the next just by using public transportation.
Yes.
So for example, if you're coming from Coral Bay, St. John, you will use VITRAN to get to our ferry terminals. You use the VITRAN ferry, you come into the Red Hook terminal. As you're getting out the Red Hook terminal, you're able to go directly to on one of our VITRAN buses that takes you straight to the airport. Now, of course, we want to make sure that we can do that between the districts as well. And I think for us, as we are, right now we're going through, as you know, we're going through not only our transportation plan update, but our transit plan update. So we really, it's important to bridge the gaps between those, but also bridge the gaps between our ports. Ms. McGregor?
Sure. And Commissioner, as you mentioned about the updates for our transportation plan and our transit plan update, we're also in the process of preparing to update our ferry transportation program plan. This was approved by both Federal Transit Administration and Federal Highway Administration in 2022. Since then, we've added an additional ferry boat to the program. We've also added routes to the program, so we definitely need to increase or update our plan. The community has been reaching out for many years regarding service between St. Croix and St. Thomas.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why we started doing research, started applying for grants to fund this service. And as I said before, we had an opportunity with Garvey Bonds, and here we are today.
Yes, as someone who hates flying, I am very much looking forward to this. I love being able to go back and forth between the islands. So we have a call. Let's see.
We started doing research.
Good afternoon. You're on.
To fund this service.
You have a question for us here at the DPW town? Can you please turn down your TV or radio, wherever you're listening on?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear us?
I am very much looking forward to this. I love being able to go
Hello?
back and forth between the islands. So we have a call.
Can you please turn down?
Tell him it's on a delay.
It's on delay.
Hello?
Yes, can you please turn down the volume? Yeah, because we're hearing that. It's a delay.
Hello? Can you turn down your TV or radio, whatever you're listening on? Hello? Can you hear me?
So we seem to be having a few
Okay.
technical difficulties trying to figure it out, right?
I did.
I think this is the world that we live in as we're trying to increase interconnectivity, right?
Right. It's okay. So I guess we could just make a note. There's obviously a delay, so for anyone calling in. So please just turn down your volume when you call us in and talk to
listen,
us.
right,
Yeah.
and listen to the phone.
Listen to us, not the TV. But yeah, go ahead.
I think I'd like to ask, if we can, I'd like to ask Jomo to expound, because I think, and Ms. McGregor touched on it, since we've had the ferry boat program approved by Federal Highway, we've been able to tap into a number of resources that have actually assisted us.
Yes.
Right,
Right,
Jomo?
right. And we just last year, we were able to receive some federal aid dollars from the ferry boat program that Federal Highway runs to provide operational type subsidies to the current franchise operators for the St. Thomas St. John route. And that was possible due to us having an approved ferry boat program plan that's been approved by Federal Highway, and also because of the data that they provide based on the national census of ferry boat operators, data that they provide to the federal government, that is able to appropriate dollars specifically to operators who submit data to that census database, and then it's also eligible for operational dollars because that particular marine transportation route is controlled by I guess has oversight by government operations.
Yes.
And because the rates are controlled by the
Right.
PSC, we were able to show that there is some type of public control over that route, and they were eligible for those types of funds.
Okay, great. We have some questions. We're going to try the caller one more time.
Yes, hello?
Hi, good afternoon. You have a
Yes,
question
good
for us?
afternoon. Am I on the air?
Yes, you are. You're on the air.
Okay, good. This is M.A. Dworkin, St. Croix Times and Yellow Cedar Media. How are you doing today?
Doing well.
Good. Commissioner Gabrielle, good to talk to you. Couple of questions. First of all, is this going to be rebroadcast? I wanted to write an article on it for St. Croix Times and Yellow Cedar Media. Are you going to rebroadcast this? Is it going to be up on the website?
So that's our goal. Our goal is to not only put it on our website, but also for it to be simultaneously rebroadcast through WTJX. I do want to thank them for their partnership on this. This has truly been incredible.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, thank you. All right, so here's what I was wondering. First of all, when are you projecting this ferry to be functional?
Okay. So, can you say that again for me one more time?
When are you projecting that it will be functional? What year would this be? Would people be able to use it?
So our goal is 2026, but we understand that we have not gone into procurement yet. The bid package is due for solicitation, hopefully in early November, and that will dictate when the ferry boat will go into operation.
Okay, so if possible, the end of next year.
It is possible. It is possible.
Possible. You keep your fingers crossed.
All of us, right?
Yes. Well, I think it's wonderful. I mean, I think it's a fabulous thing. But I guess my concern is, in years past, I'm not sure how this ferry has been running lately, but in years past, the ferry was very unpredictable in the times that it was taking off and the times that it was landing, and in the amount of time that it took to traverse from St. Croix to St. Thomas. And it was a very bumpy ride.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not familiar with the current ferry that they're using now, but the waters are choppy. Is it something that is not possible to smooth out the ride, or is the new ferry taking that into account?
I think that's a great question. One of the things that came in, and one of the reasons why we went with the designer that we are going with, is because they actually came down and they have a lot of experience with the route 753M between St. Croix and St. Thomas. They came down, they watched it. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they actually rode it, and like Jomo mentioned, Deputy Commissioner McGregor mentioned, one of the requirements from the federal government is that we do have to run this route within 90 minutes or less. So that is, that's one of the reasons why the conceptual design is the way it is. And it is one of the reasons why that we're putting so much emphasis on the design for this vessel.
Well, I would think that they could, in today's day and age, figure out how to get it across there without it, having people have an upset stomach. Well,
Mother
that's
Nature
great.
is,
And,
Mother Nature is
so
unpredictable,
therefore,
man.
I mean, this sounds fantastic. 90 minutes would be great. And what are you figuring? To run once a day going there and once a day coming back like the old ones used to?
Right now, we're not sure. We're still looking for a lot of community feedback. We've been talking to operators. I do want to take a moment to mention that this will be solicited for operation as well. This is not like the St. Thomas, St. John route where it is granted by a franchise. So this will be openly solicited for operation. And that is one of the things that we will be discussing through that open bid solicitation.
So you would use a private party to run the ferry?
A third party.
Yes.
Third party. Okay. Well, I really wish you a great deal of luck. I think it's a fantastic idea. I'm going to hope that you can get a replay up on this. I'd like to write an article about it for the St. Croix Times and the Yellow Cedar Media. I think people are greatly interested in it, and if it can be functional within a year or so, I think it would be a fabulous addition to coming from St. Croix to St. Thomas. So,
Thank you very much.
okay. Well, you have a beautiful day.
You
today.
too. You too. So, Kenila, before we take any next caller, I just want to encourage people to visit our website often, dpw.vi.gov. Please sign up for the notifications that we have. Not only do we post updates on all of our projects, including bridges, ferries, buses, roads,
Detours.
road cutting, detours, all of the above.
Opportunities.
Employment opportunities, business opportunities. But we also take that as an opportunity for you to sign up so that you're getting direct access to us. As well, we do also have a citizen, I don't want to call it complaint, a citizen feedback module.
Yes.
Yeah, where
Citizen
people can
portal.
actually give us direct feedback through our website. So we want to encourage everyone that's listening, whether media, private citizens, or visitors, to visit our website often, dpw.vi.gov.
Okay, thank you for that. We have another caller. And they are no longer there,
Yep.
but we have some questions that came in from social media.
Okay.
Bevy Hill, I guess they're listening, but they're asking if we're referring to VITRAN bus services or if this is just for the ferry.
We are referring to the ferry services. However, the plan for our multimodal transportation system is that you utilize a ferry service and connect to VITRAN buses.
Right.
Okay, great.
Deputy Commissioner, I think we're also available to answer questions through VITRAN, like if they're, if we can, right?
Yes.
If time allows.
Okay,
Yes.
great, because we have another one.
Sure.
Okay.
This question is saying, well, it's more of a statement. They would like to be able to track the buses. They said that would be a great improvement, modernizing our transit system.
Carol, I
Okay.
think that's a perfect prompt.
I know, we have an answer for
So
that.
right now, we do utilize an intelligent transportation system that tracks the buses. We are tracking the paratransit buses, and that's for persons that utilize it for ADA services, and that is the elderly and persons with disabilities. We are in the process of updating our transportation system to include a new system that's going to track all the buses and all the routes that we utilize. It's a very good service. With that service, we can tell the passenger trips, where they come from, where they go to, which is the origin and destination. We can determine how many trips per day, per month, per year. Passengers are also using this service to track their own trips. And from time to time, they request a trip list of all the trips that they took throughout the year.
But I think, Carol, if I could add, it also assists our Medicaid and Medicare passengers as well.
Yes, and
right?
that's the passengers that request the listing of their trips. they're able to get refunds for the trips that they've paid for.
Yeah.
And they're also able to get grants for transportation services that they need.
And one of the things that we have been talking to the folks at the Department of Human Services and Commissioner Avril George about is finding more ways to subsidize the riders
Yes.
that can't afford the ridership. I know we did recently raise our rates throughout VITRAN. And a lot of that was so that we could provide more reliable transportation service and we could actually invest into TripSpark. I'm sorry, into TripSpark.
Yeah.
Into our intelligent transportation service so that we could better serve our community.
Okay. Well, we don't have any.
We're asking the community
Yes,
for their, one of the things that we did, and I want to, I guess, take the opportunity to pat us on our back, is we try to get community participation from everything that we do, even in naming the last ferry that we have. We do anticipate actually another community event where we open it up for naming opportunities again for the new ferry. So that's why I cannot tell you enough to please visit our website, dpw.vi.gov. Look out for those. Tune into even the government's overall website. Visit the Office of the Governor. Visit any opportunities that we have, because we do try to offer cross-marketing platforms to all of the agencies that we partner with.
Okay, great. We have another call.
Okay.
Let's see. Good evening and welcome.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Hi, good evening. My name is Morgan Locke. I'm calling from the St. Thomas District. I had just a few questions around sustainability. Has there been any analysis done from an operations standpoint or budget standpoint on feasibility of the ferry?
So one of the things that helped us to get to the point that we were at, like we said, is actually receiving the ridership data through the QE4. That was uploaded, like Jomo said, to the National Census of Ferry Operators, and that was actually what supported this venture.
Okay, and I guess further to that, has there been any analysis done on cannibalization of the private enterprise that's currently running?
No. No.
And the sustainability of two vessels?
So our goal is to provide a vessel that is government subsidized, that we can put out for bid, that actually provides reliable inter-island and inter-district connectivity. We have not looked into the private operation.
Okay, and then as far as on an ongoing basis, if there was an operational shortfall, who pays for that?
Can you expound a little bit more?
Would it be the taxpayers, or would it be federal funds that would be subsidizing that loss, or?
What is the operational shortfall that you're referring to? Because the government's obligation at this point is to provide a ferry, and we're asking for operators, anybody that we're going to put out a request for qualifications, so that qualified operators can look at operating the route between St. Croix and St. Thomas.
Okay, and so there's some, when we think about, from an investment analysis standpoint, if those operators wouldn't have to be footing the bill of the actual ferry.
Correct.
They would just be responsible for
Operations.
ongoing
Operations. Yeah, you are absolutely right. Our goal in this is to really not have the operators make that initial investment,
That
so that
capital.
it's more that capital investment, so that it's more economically feasible.
And how about CapEx to the actual vessel? Who would be responsible for that?
So the ridership data is what's going to support any maintenance and operational funds that we're able to receive through Federal Highway, or even possibly
Federal Transit.
through FTA, the Federal Transit Administration. The Department of Transportation does not provide funds for capital expenditures. So to purchase new ferries, they don't give us funding for that.
Okay, so any operator would have to include that in their RFP as far as the feasibility for them to sustain.
I'm not. Can you maybe rephrase your question?
So when we think about kind of as a going concern, that CapEx would then fall on the operator to pay for the maintenance of the vessel, or is that what you're saying?
No, the operation and maintenance are well, excuse me. The CapEx would be operator expense, but we do provide. We would have the opportunity to provide subsidies.
Yes.
Okay, and do we have any sense of what that, given the vessel, I don't know if the vessel's been identified or the cost of the vessel has been identified, but has there been any analysis done on what operational maintenance would need for the vessel that operators could include in their models?
That's to be determined. To be determined.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Is it-
McLean said it's to be determined.
Yeah.
To be determined.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you for calling in. Oh, we're getting some interest there.
Yeah, right. You know, one of the things that I think we talked about, and I know Deputy Commissioner McGregor was very, really wanted to have this town hall meeting because we want to hear from prospective operators as well.
Yes.
You know, we want to get your questions. We want you to ask anything that can help you to be able to put together the best proposal to operate the ferry that we are providing.
So I just want to make sure I understood, because that was a good question about the maintenance. We're saying that we're not certain if we will be able to, well, not we, the government.
No, I think the question more linked to how much of a dollar amount, and so
Okay.
that's to be determined because the vessel hasn't been fabricated as yet.
Right.
Okay. So we're going to take a quick little break.
If we don't mind, yeah, we can.
Can we have just like a 2-minute break? And we'll be right
Right
back.
back.
Welcome back to the DPW VITRAN St. Croix-St. Thomas Ferry Virtual Town Hall. That's a mouthful. So we have a few more questions that we'd like to get answered. They came in from social media. So I'll just run down the list and we'll tag team it. So first question, how much will cars, passengers, cargo cost, etc.? Do we have a cost determined as yet? Mrs. McGregor, Jomo, who else? Who?
Oh, okay. So no, we do not. We do not have a cost as yet. That will be determined once the vessel is fabricated and we select an operator for that. But I just want to note that the cost will be, I guess, in conjunction with the Public Services Commission, since this would be a federal marine transportation route. The rates must be controlled by a government entity. So those fees will be determined in conjunction with the PSC.
Okay, thank you for that. This is related. When we get our new buses on St. Croix, any chance of Saturday runs?
Yes. We are currently looking at the feasibility for implementing Saturday or weekend services on our fixed route service. We currently operate paratransit service on VITRAN for the elderly and persons with disability. With new buses, we'll be able to provide services throughout the territory on the weekend, and that is something that we are looking at for the community.
Thank you very much, Ms. McGregor. Another part of that question says, I know seniors ride free, however, I feel we can afford to pay $1, being that others pay $2. Is that something we're hoping to consider? I know it's legislated,
I'll take
right?
that, guys. Thank you for that, Kenila. You know, I
I mean, it's very kind of them.
yeah, it is.
Yes.
It is. We
Willing to
appreciate
pay.
you because I think you know, like the popular saying, one fills a bucket, right? Right now, it is, like you said, legislated that senior citizens do ride for free. We are hoping to, in the future, create more revenue generating opportunities for VITRAN through our advertising program. But that is one of the things that we are actually revisiting with this current legislature.
Okay, thank you for that. How are we at DPW working to increase ridership on the buses? Who wants to take that one?
You know, why don't you, Deputy Commissioner?
We are currently in the process of having additional fixed route buses manufactured. We have been advertising. We encourage the community to use our services, and we provide services to areas where other available transportation do not provide. We also provide accessible transportation for persons with disabilities. And with the addition of our new buses, we'll definitely be able to increase services for the community.
Yeah.
Miss Calendar, Miss McGregor is so humble. Allow me to, I guess, expand a little bit for her, right?
Go ahead, toot the horn.
I think one of the things that we've actually done is we've gotten a lot of community input, and we've really tried to reach them where they are, right? One of the things that the safaris don't provide that VITRAN does is they actually just ride the main routes. VITRAN takes you into the communities in both St. Thomas, St. John, or St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix. We drive into areas like, you know, Tutu, Anna's Retreat, you know, of course, like I would even say some of the housing communities. But here, we're into places that really you don't see regular ridership, right? Calcahoon, right? Montbijou. Thank you. And I think that's a large part of what we're going to do, which is why we're investing in new buses so we can create more reliable opportunities. And I think even through the creation of the DPW app, where we're able to show where the bus is on the route, people will feel more comfortable with the reliability of the buses. Additionally, I would also add one of the things that we're trying to do, like Carol said earlier, is we're trying to connect the ports, which gives us an opportunity to capture not just residents, but actually visitors. So if you're coming from St. John, you can actually get off of a VITRAN ferry, get onto a VITRAN bus, and then come into downtown Charlotte-Amalie, do some of your shopping, and then possibly go back to St. John. I think the last piece that we're adding which is really us moving into the multimodal transportation system, is we're adding transfer stations in the next in the coming months. One of the things that we're doing is before the end of the year, we expect to put out the Sunny Barnes transfer station to bid in the St. Croix district, which will allow us to create more micro routes. We're adding reliability and accessibility between Frederickstead, Christiansted, and of course the inter-island areas. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, Carol.
Definitely. We'd like to introduce during that period of time our micro transit services, which allows small groups to transport from the transfer stations into communities or areas that are not served. For example, on the island of St. Croix, we'll be able to transfer maybe a family of 5 or 6 individuals from our Lorraine or Sunny Barnes transfer station to a community like Bethlehem Hills, or what's we locally call the Harvey community, and other areas as well. So the microtransit service that we're introducing with the introduction of our transfer stations will be a plus for VITRAN services.
Thank you, Ms.
And the community.
And the
Yeah,
community.
right. All of us, right?
Yeah.
DPW on the move?
On the move.
There you go. Okay, one time. Okay, so we have more of a statement than a question. They said big improvement on the ferry time. I guess they're talking about the length of the
Right.
Right.
commute
Yeah.
between St. Thomas and St. John. They're hoping the ride from St. Thomas to St. Croix can be greatly improved as well. They said 2 hours with the Rocky ride is horrendous.
Yeah, and I mean, and you know, both Mr. McLean and Ms. McGregor mentioned it. One of the requirements is the 90-minute ride.
Yes.
It is why the boat is being conceptually designed as it is, so that hopefully it can be a smoother ride. And again, I just want to give kudos to the current operator of the QE4, because they did provide a lot of information that helped us on this venture.
Oh, well, that's good to hear, because one of the next question says if this ferry coming online is going to affect them in any way, the Kiwi ferry.
So I know I'll just say, if you guys don't mind, I'll take this. We have been in discussions with the current operator. There are concerns, but we are hoping to provide complementary services between the two.
That's good. We'll work with that. Okay. Well, that's all of our questions. I know we had some cool stuff that we wanted to talk about DPW-wise to share with the
Yeah.
public. What do we have? We
Jomo,
said,
do you want to tell them of your accomplishment, or do you want me to do it?
go ahead.
Me, right? Yeah. These guys, I just want to tell our community, we have some of the most humble managers throughout the government of the Virgin Islands. But one of the things that we are really proud of is we are completing bridge number 5 of 5, which is the Calcahoon Bridge in the St. Croix district. And that should be open by, I would say, about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock tomorrow. The contractor is actually finishing up the final touches on the bridge. We were out there actually performing an in-person inspection yesterday, and it went well. I do want to thank VI Paving for their efforts on the Calcahoon Bridge, but I also want to recognize Custom Builders, who also worked on the Federal Highway ER Bridges project. I also want to thank the Eastern Federal Lands, which is a division of the Federal Highway Administration, who helped us with that project. You know, Kenila, our slogan, DPW on the move, has really been in full effect over the last 12 months and beyond, because we've been pushing the transportation infrastructure of the Virgin Islands forward. Not only have we completed bridges in St. Croix, but we have finished very important infrastructure projects on St. Thomas, such as the First Avenue downtown drainage improvement project. Also the downtown improvement project, which was throughout the district of Charlotte Amalie, is also wrapping up. We have a number of other projects going on. I know a lot of the community reached out to us about the traffic interruptions that were caused with the recent striping that we did. But we are really hyper-focused on improving our transportation infrastructure, whether it's through mass transit, whether it's through ferry transportation, road improvement. Of course, we've been posting our roadside maintenance schedule,
Yes.
which is really important so that the public can also keep us accountable. I do just want to add to the public. It is very important that you continue to stay tuned to what we have going on, because a lot of times we have road closures, we have detours that are advertised, and we don't want you to be caught off guard. We do
Yes.
try to post them at least 48 hours in advance, sometimes 24 hours in advance. But ladies and gentlemen, some of these interruptions are by emergencies.
Yes.
And they are by happen chance. So I cannot encourage you enough to please visit our website, dpw.vi.gov, sign up for all of our social media updates, and most importantly, just stay tuned to what we have going on. There's a lot coming. We have road improvement projects in the Peters Rest area, the Diamond Ruby area. We are wrapping up the Clifton Hill Connector project. We are wrapping up the improvements on the Melvin Evans Highway project. We are really looking forward to getting Veterans Drive underway. And of course, we have a number of other Garvey projects in addition to the ferry that we're looking at. And by the second quarter of next year, we are hoping to get new buses in the territory so that we can provide more reliable VITRAN service. This thing is continuing to grow. We are always looking for improvement. Please continue to give us your feedback. And the last thing I would ask you is for your continued patience and understanding as we improve our transportation infrastructure.
But before we close out, because we're asking for patience and understanding, there is a project, Jomo, that's starting
Next week. Right.
Yes, let's take this opportunity and let them know what's coming. It's going to be a month.
Yeah, so Queen Mary will be impacted, and
Yes.
there is a detour that went out today.
Yes.
Right? So we're going to be working on a culvert replacement by Kmart West, just west of Kmart West, replacing an old historic arch culvert with a modern culvert, concrete culvert. And so that work should commence next week. So there is a detour that will be posted, that has been posted, and that will detour you out to Melvin Evans and around. So unfortunately, just be patient.
What's the expected time?
30 days.
30 days.
Yes.
Carol, is there anything you'd like to add before we close out, right? Because I think VITRAN is it is the one underappreciated and under-celebrated part of the mass transit system, or part of the public transportation system that we have. Anything that you want to add?
Definitely. I'd like to add that we do provide accessible transportation for our elderly and persons with disabilities. This service, the applicants, you have to apply. Applicants are certified to use the service. And with that service, if you travel to Puerto Rico or to the mainland, you can use that service for up to 21 days. We transfer your certification. You can travel to doctors, to visit family, visit friends. They will pick you up at the airport and take you to where you need to go just by being certified on VITRAN here in the Virgin Islands.
Yes, thank you for that, Ms. McGregor. I think that's an awesome service that we provide. We're trying to do as much as we can to get the word out about it, but yeah. Okay, so thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time. Thank you for those that listened and sent in questions.
And we encourage the feedback on the website, right? If they didn't get it in today.
Yeah, we do have, it's community feedback. That's what we're changing the name to. It's a bright yellow exclamation. But thank you. Yes, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you.
Yeah, we just want to thank you guys, and we look forward to continuing to serve our community. Last, if I may,
Yes.
I just want to thank the men and women of the Department of Public Works.
Always.
Right, always. It is a very tireless and thankless job, but on behalf of our entire community, I just want to thank the men and women that serve in that department, and we look forward to continuing to grow and serve together. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Enjoy the rest of